Thank you. You do too. You look amazing as always.
Oh, and we're live.
Oh, hey. Hey, everyone.
Just remarking on how gorgeous you're looking. And it's not even been that long since I saw you. I got to run into you in the hallways of a casino in Las Vegas during
Yeah,
AVN in January.
we really did bump into each other unexpectedly. And it was like such a pleasant, little moment of selfie taking and, a moment to reconnect before the madness of the convention time.
Yeah, I was. Well, I guess I'll get back to this after we introduce ourselves. But I was going to say we were there for similar but different reasons because I was up in the toy section most of the time. You were in the main expo floor, and I hated how removed the two
They were very
sections were.
separated,
I
right? Very
know.
separated. So separated that there was like a long hallway and then another long hallway separating. I almost got lost going from one to the other.
Yes, we're talking about AVN at Resorts World for anyone who is missing the context here. But I guess I'll start off by saying I am Zoe Ligon, also known as Thongria, but I'm also Zoe. And I am the CEO of Spectrum Boutique, where we've been in business since 2015. And I'm based out of Detroit. But I also do OnlyFans and like content creator stuff online. But really just like in a more in an amateur capacity, I guess I still call it. And what else? I make art. I'm in the middle of a big sculpture installation project that involves recycled dildos right now, but I'll get to that later.
Oh, hell yeah. And I'm Lotus Lain, and I love doing these kinds of live talks with people because I never actually knew how to pronounce your last name. I kind of over like Swedishized it in my head and like made the G silent. So, anyways, um, my pronouns are she and her. I'm an adult industry veteran. I've been in the industry since around 2012. Been a dominatrix, performer, producer, writer, director, and I'm currently the industry relations advocate at Free Speech Coalition, which is our adult industry trade organization. We set the testing and production standards and do all the legal battles for all of the states trying to shut down the very legal world of porn right now. So, anyways, with that said, yeah,
Yeah.
I also do a lot of sex work, advocacy, intimacy, coordinator work for TV and film, and yeah, life is funny. So we're here to talk about how it could be funny with sex.
Absolutely. It's really funny too because I was looking at the flyer and the photo I submitted, I'm like I was like the most serious, and I was like, it's kind
Very
of funny
serious.
to me that I picked the most serious headshot because most of my photos are not like that. But FSC, were you in the lobbying trip to DC that I went on, or were we on separate trips? I
We were
was
on separate trips.
okay. That's
I
what I
did see
thought.
that we went to a lobbying trip in DC. I did a lobbying trip here in LA. Well, I'm in LA, so it was easy for me. But yeah, that's part of the stuff we do, trying to keep the industry legal and um, trying to fight for our rights of freedom of expression and everybody else's rights to indulge in our freedoms of expression.
Yes, exactly. And, again, while I am, making my OnlyFans content, my first wheelhouse in sex world was sex toys. So I feel like it was a really nice common ground going with FSC where, I was certainly there because our main focus here is censorship and pornography and
Yeah.
freedom of expression, which is also the canary in the coal mine for like everything else. But we were there talking about financial discrimination. I don't know if that was my group was doing. I don't know if that was what
Yeah,
you're doing in
that's
LA.
exactly
Okay,
what
okay.
that's pretty much the big fight of the year for the industry is the financial
Yeah,
discrimination that we face across banks or payment apps, all sorts of fun ways that they can discriminate against people and shut down accounts and not have to give them ways of getting their money back. And
totally.
everyone thinks that they shouldn't pay for porn. Well, we're able to, and we deserve to live from the work that we're creating that you're enjoying. So yeah.
Yeah,
maybe you'll enjoy this
absolutely.
talk too, and reconsider that stance if you have that kind of point of view on porn and paying for it and all of that good stuff.
Yes, I second all of that. And my problems with financial discrimination started when I was just selling sex toys and didn't have an OnlyFans. So,
Yeah, how did that all get started? Like not the OnlyFans. We understand all
yeah, that's
that. How did you get started with selling sex toys and
oh,
making fun videos
yes.
and all of that?
Yeah, there's really nothing funny about financial discrimination. I don't have any funny anecdotes about that, maybe some awkward anecdotes.
That
But
we laugh to avoid crying.
um, I've been selling sex toys for over 10 years, and I was originally working at a brick and mortar in Manhattan. I, obviously took a lot of selfies with dildos back then, as I do to this day. But it
There
was just
wasn't a lot of dildo selfie content, I would say, back then.
yeah, I remember the first time it was the classic rabbit habit, the like elastomer
Yes.
Vibratex, like with the pearly
The
bead
crazy,
rabbit.
like, alien thing popping out of the dildo
Yeah,
thing up here, so it's like alien.
arguably a very funny looking sex toy.
But
Um,
supposedly that was like the thing all girls wanted because supposedly we all watched Sex in the City and supposedly never
yes.
orgasmed before that.
Yes, it definitely put that on our collective conscious radar, did it not? I think the first thing I posted as far as a dildo selfie goes was not even a video. This is when Instagram did not have video capabilities yet. And it was just like me with a rabbit. And everyone, like, truly, I mean, any sex toy with a face on it is pretty funny. And like, it is a like particularly, I don't know, sex toy-y looking sex toy.
Yeah.
But I just remember that blowing up. And it was literally just a toy touching my face. It could not have
What
been more
was people's
bland.
reactions to that? Like, what was the blow up?
It was like, ew. Why is it on her face? Why is it on her face? Something we've all asked ourselves, why is it on our face? We've all, anyway, wow, I'm reaching. Trying to do comedy right now. How did you get involved in the world of sex? I mean,
It, for me, it was sort of something like silly that I wasn't taking serious, like a social experiment of my own personal life. I was approaching 30 and I had all these kind of like disgruntled feelings about where people said we should be at this time in our lives or what experiences we should have. I was a mother too at that time. And I was like, I don't feel this mom vibe that society is trying to put on me that like you're hung up by the time you're 30. I was actually feeling very sexual and very confident. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to fuck around and find out and see what's going on in porn. I felt very body confident, which also was a thing that society was trying to tell me wouldn't be the case since I was a mom and I should hate my body. And I did not. And I felt like you're only going to look and feel this way once in your life. So why not? So I went for it. It was my dirty 30 birthday present to myself to allow myself to try porn. It was something that was always a curiosity. And the curiosity turned into more of a passion and something that gives me a lot of energy to wake up to and want to be a part of. So yeah, I guess something that you might not take seriously at first can actually become your life's career. So that's where I'm in now. Like, I don't know, what is it, 12 something years later? Yeah.
I mean, and you're so great at what you do. You are, obviously a very charismatic person. And on top of that, you've got like I love hearing you also talk about the Free Speech Coalition side of stuff. I think that might even be where we initially kind of started chit-chatting with each other.
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
did meet at a sex toy convention. I think it was
Yes.
one of the first ones that I went to, and you were just
Yeah.
fun and playful, and your energy was fun. And at that convention in particular, I remember there aren't that many people like that, so you really stood out. I was like, "Oh, fun, cool, cute girl! Yes,
Yeah.
let's like
I had
stay
the
in
same
contact."
thought. Absolutely. And oh yeah, that's so funny. That's like all these years. I certainly also, well, I wouldn't say it was an experiment, but I was, it was my last year in college and I wanted a retail job, and I wouldn't say it was an experiment so much as but I was definitely like, oh, this is like what I'm doing right now. And I could never have anticipated that being kind of like my first and last career path, really.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, exactly. Like when I first embarked upon it, I was like, oh, I'll just like do this for a year or two and like change up my hair so no one will remember that I did that, and it'll be my dirty little secret for myself. But that's not the way things work out. Getting into this industry, I found out areas of passion, which were advocacy, and that's what led me to working with FSC. And so, yeah, I just couldn't imagine even moments when I'm not performing as much as I was in the beginning, where I would just leave this industry behind completely. I couldn't imagine that. There's just so much fun to be had with sex, so much playfulness and unpredictable situations to work around. So yeah, one of the things that I think is funny and unpredictable too, speaking of you having viral moments that blow up, I want to laugh about one of the viral moments that you had that blew up, where you were being funny and talking about body function.
Oh, and drag me right into it, Lotus.
Yeah, because you did that, and I remember a friend in my real life, like she doesn't know you, and she didn't really know our connection. She just brought this up. Look at this, like, and I was like, oh yeah, that's my friend. And she's just like horrified that you were speaking very candidly about real bodily functions that most of us are very deathly embarrassed and humiliated about. To even
look at me, I'm blushing now, even by reliving the moment I was dragged on Twitter so heavily.
but as that was like an unpredictable outcome, what was it that you were really trying to get across? Were you like trying to be funny or gross, or what was
for context, because I do not expect this to be as ingrained into anyone else's mind as it is mine at this point. There was definitely a different era on the internet. I think I really reevaluated my life after this experience. But I wrote something. Oh, you know what it was? I had been doing a lot of educating around circumcision and kind of like the history of it, and debunking some of the myths around foreskin. And one of the big ones is smegma or dick cheese, whatever you want to call it. And my goal okay, well, let me say what the tweet was and then I'll go back to it.
Yeah.
It was, sometimes I have clit smegma, sometimes I have skid marks on my thong. Doesn't bother me, does it bother you? Like, it was like something like that.
Well, it definitely bothered one of my friends because she can never live that moment down. It's like what I call the end all discussion moment. Like if I just smegma, and she's like, oh, in shambles.
Put it on my gravestone, please. Right? Somebody remember, whoever's in charge of that. But okay, like I, in retrospect, obviously like deserved every bit of jokes. And you know what? It's one of those things where like, even though people were laughing at me and not with me, I'm like, you know what? I think that really stuck in people's brains. And where I was coming from with that, like, listen, I am a bidet owner. You're like,
I'm used to bodily functions, fluids.
But also, I was kind of coming from this place of like, listen, smegma is just like a buildup of oil from your skin, and any part of your body that has like a fold and a mucous membrane creates this.
No, I know, right. Even if I didn't wipe the tears from my eyes, I'd have some eye smegma in it.
Eye crust is eyes. Right. Yes, come on.
So, I mean, makeup wearers, we get eye smegma with like
eye boogers.
I hate that.
Eye smegma. I'm never logging back onto the internet ever again.
I mean, you should actually call Webster's Dictionary and just like get your official word like approved and standardized.
But yes, I was trying to have a teachable moment. And it basically resulted in people being like, what's wrong with this woman? Does she know how to wipe herself?
So yeah, that's lovely. I just love that
Yeah.
you're able to laugh at the moment, even though
Yeah.
at the moment people are laughing at yourself and you're not taking it too seriously, because
I
I
was
mean that definitely
mortified.
happens as public figures, people out there on the internet with our personas out there. Not everything we receive is going to be awesomely sexy to everybody in the best
Yeah.
way. Sometimes, just the way we're sitting is not cool to people. And I remember, actually, speaking of, since we're talking about laughing, I had a fan on one of my OnlyFans, and this was like a longtime fan. He messaged me a lot, all this stuff, got custom videos. One of the videos I made, it was a threesome video, and we were laughing in it, me and my co-partners. And he was very upset about it, this fan. He wrote me a very upset, heated message, like, why are you laughing? Why are you guys laughing? And I was like, well, first of all, we're all friends, and we're having a great time in this threesome. It was fun. Like, and I remember he might have said like one last thing, disgruntled, mad, and then he unfollowed me. And I've never heard from him ever since. He does not like humor. He does not like comedy.
Wanted you to be miserable in that
He is
threesome.
very serious about his sex. And I remember being so confused, and also it made me laugh, because I was like, this is the funniest thing ever. Me laughing is such a turn off to this super long time fan that they're just like done. So yeah, I think that's like, I wonder where that comes from for people, where laughter is just such an extreme turn off. Like, I also, oh my God.
Yeah.
During another threesome moment, but this was a threesome moment with other performers, but not on camera, so for our own fun and pleasure. And it was actually more of a 3 girls and 1 male performer. He didn't like that we were laughing. Well, the 3 girls were so thrilled that we were about to suck this other performer dude's dick that we had not all individually had time with, but he was very thrown off by our laughter. I don't know if it like fucked with his masculinity, or like, I really don't know, because like he just like couldn't. He was like, this isn't a joke. I'm not a joke. And we're like, what? And that actually made us laugh even more, because we're like, what?
Oh, so serious. Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh, our giggling is like ruining your vibe.
Yeah, we're like, okay, we just want to like suck your dick, and you're like so upset. I don't know. It was the most funny, awkward, bizarre. So yeah, humor is not received by all, funny enough, even when there's 3 willing, wet open mouths ready for the taking.
The mouth has to be open, but not laughing. It's got to be frowning.
Yeah, very sad, frowny, serious mouth.
But I think you bring up a great point, that there's obviously people who think that there's this unspoken understanding, like, I'm ordering this, and it's obvious that it is not supposed to have any levity in it.
Right.
And that's just not even specified. Like, and by the way, I want this to be on the serious. I don't know. I think
right. How do you order serious sex? Like, because sometimes things just happen right in the middle of a session. Like, it's not like a movie where everything happens so fluidly and perfectly and seamlessly. Like, I've definitely bumped heads or knees, or like, almost, bent a dick, just slamming down on things the wrong way.
If I'm having a particularly intense orgasm, I have definitely accidentally farted once or twice in my life, and I will be the first to laugh at my own orgasm fart. But like, you know what it means?
You don't do the fart hide, like you don't do the hide it fart and like just do a bunch of other body rubbing noises. To, like...
I feel like I'm already like motionless at the end, and I'm like, so it's like I'm like too like because it's like in my big moment, I'm like not even able. I'm like, that's the sign of having a good time. I'm not clenching my body, but it does sound hilarious. And I think I was like mentioning this the other day to you, but I remember I recorded a video where I was like, oh, I want to edit this out, but I can't edit this out without it like sounding or looking weird. And I just left it in. And like, not only did like nobody care, but then I was like, oh, I'm going to make fart videos now, because like, this is like easy, makes me laugh. Other people think it's hot. I don't think people necessarily who are into farting are finding it comical, but I'm sure there's a Venn diagram overlap.
Like it overlapping at some point, right? It has to. Like farts are funny. The ridiculous sounds they make are funny. That's why we laugh. That's why we're embarrassed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and for someone to know you so well and be like a good fan of yours, and then like that is just
that's what also was funny to me, because I was like, you obviously don't know me very well as much as you think you do. You're very stuck in your fantasy of what you think I am or should be to you, and because this wasn't like new, like early in my career. This was like fairly deep. So I feel like I've always been a little bit silly and goofy and playful. So yeah, that was just something that struck me as, porn, as real as the sex is, it's still a fantasy in a way, as far as what people might be thinking of and fantasizing about us and how we may be, or whatever, fantasizing about the type of sex we really like to have because of the way they think we look or are. But here to tell you, laughter is on the table.
absolutely. Is there like a particular position that is like really great for the camera, but there's just like no way you would ever do it, or it's just like so awkward?
Scissoring.
Yeah.
I hate it so much. And I feel like us girls on camera are looking at each other with our literal vaginas not touching because there's like legs in the way and
cheat out.
So we're like this, like you from the camera angle thinks coochies are touching and vaginas are touching, but really we're like this because there's only so far you can spread your pelvis and legs, and we're just like eye to eye looking at each other like, this is the stupidest shit ever. Because like nothing is happening.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, you're in the zone, you're working, but yeah. Have you ever laughed out loud and been like, oh, this is so silly right now?
Oh, yeah, actually.
How was that received?
Yeah, this was in one of my first scenes. It was my first boy-girl scene, and I think it was with Rico Strong, and I was new, so I didn't really have this like regiment of preparedness in me for scenes. And I forgot to take gum out of my mouth. So I had the gum in my mouth as I was doing the blowjob, and I was like, oh shit. And like I remember being able to see myself kind of laughing on it because I'm like, because I'm trying to be like, camera's like over here, and I'm trying to like like toss like gum and like keep like, because I didn't know like you could stop or like request this. I thought like once it's on, like, especially it being my first scene. So it was very funny moment of me kind of like realizing as it's happening, oh shit, I have gum in my mouth and I have to try and like pretend to not be laughing at myself as I'm like trying to squeeze it out. But I don't know, you guys look it up, you tell me, is it noticeable?
I think that is a whole genre of like sex bloopers, is like something being where it's not supposed to be, or you forgot about something, you know what I mean?
That just started to kind of take over, which is funny because it means we do love humor in our sex as people, as consumers. Like the head stuck in the oven or laundry machine like genre, that's a whole genre.
You know what I love is, and I recently learned this, but please correct me if I'm wrong, and like these are generally like on tube sites, so depending on the tube site you're on, like, again, pay for your porn, the super sped up comical, like almost like old-timey sped up, like,
oh yeah, like I feel like they definitely film it in normal, but then they like must speed it up by like 1.5 or something because they're moving really funny, and then they like spot something and like like really like surprised by whatever action is happening.
Yes, it's like even more over the top than your typical porn scene.
Yeah, like then the typical gonzo has been like, because this is something beyond gonzo. What would we even call it? There has to be a category name for it. I have to like email the professionals at Pornhub and ask them what exactly are we calling this category exactly.
So, okay, so this is the anecdote I heard, and this is from like a friend who's not in porn, but like works with a lot of porn performers. So I could be totally wrong here, but I heard that sometimes those little trailers are not even filmed with the intention of like being a final scene, and it's just like the hook to get you to subscribe. And like maybe a video does exist, but it's like specifically made to like get you to click on it instead of to make you jerk off to it or whatever the case may
So there
be.
might not even be a corresponding scene.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is just what I heard.
That's extremely disappointing, but also not in this like clickbait world that we live in now, that there'd be clickbait videos like that, even in porn.
Again. Yeah. I mean, all types of like, I mean, like, it's so funny because like we're not allowed to advertise ourselves, especially on social media, because we risk deletion. But then like obviously like porn ads are like this whole hilarious weird genre, whether you're on a porn site or not. Like
literally, it could be some, you know, gaming site or something. There's definitely going to be some pornographic ads thrown your way one way or the other. They have those big bouncy shiny boobs that are just ridiculous.
3D.
I've actually thought of buying some of those just for the fun of having big boobs, because I don't want big boobs like forever, for life. But like the fun of just having this crazy massive, you know, those things that the drag queens wear where it's like a big shelf of fake boobs. I want that.
My store just started carrying them too. I'm so excited. I'll get you some. We'll get some.
I need to buy
free. Yes, absolutely. Wholesale boobs.
It would be fun to make funny, horny, sexy videos with them, not serious ones. Because obviously, once you have that big old thing on, that's very unserious, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, similarly, I don't sell a whole lot of dolls, but I have some.
Is it becoming more of a popular thing though? Because I remember at AVN that's all there was dolls.
Yeah. And those things are like, they're never not going to be funny to me, because watching them come out of the box, because basically there's like a wireframe skeleton in there.
Yeah, inside of it.
So, you know, it's stiff, and then they pull it up, and then like the doll is sitting up. Like it's so funny watching.
That blank stare that.
Yes, and then the positions. The hands are always like not in a way they shouldn't be.
For some reason, there's not wires in the hands, so they're just like little phalanges that just go.
Sometimes they are just limp hot dog fingers. But I think it's also really funny when it's just a torso or a crotch, and it's in my basement because I have no idea where else to put it. But I have a huge like torso with like a dick and balls and a penetrable butthole, and it's great. It's like, you know, just like pillow sized, and it's just like a sample somebody sent me, and it's just sitting there every time I go in my basement. And
you ever get sick of it? Is it just like in the shadows, just like waiting?
No, but if I need to like let a plumber or an electrician in, I have a lot of blankets that I have like there for the specific the purpose of just tossing on all of the heaps of things, because it does look very funny out of context. Yeah, it's truly just like torso to thigh. Do you know the Instagram account Dildo Nightmares?
Yes, I do know it, but remind me what they post on there, because I follow a bunch of meme accounts.
Yes. Well, it's a meme account, but it's specifically like very weird sex toys, or sex toys that are being advertised in a very bizarre way, just like bad Photoshop. You know, when you're on like like an Amazon or a Temu or whatever, and it's so clearly like a woman is like photoshopped holding something. It's like bad design. Yeah,
especially when it's sort of a sex toy that, for us that are very well versed in sex toys, I feel it's creepy when I can't figure out what it is. I'm like, I've seen so many sex toys and I can't figure out what this is. What is this? Like, where does it go? What is the intention? And there's no Temu photo.
Well, I think a lot of sex toys are things that someone literally is throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks, but like with no user testing.
The early discovery moments of life of playing with sex toys. Like, I don't know about you, but like my first apparatus was not a real sex toy intended for sex.
Yeah.
Age.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was like the back handle of a plastic spatula.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And as we get older, we, learn to put a condom on those spatula handles. And there are certainly worse things people have used. But that reminds me of how actually the first time I bought a sex toy with a literal sex toy,
Okay.
I was a freshman in college. I was getting like handcuffs as a novelty gift for my roommate.
Mhm.
And I bought myself a dildo, not as a joke. I was like, all right, and I'll take that one, please. And I think I think back to that often because I think that it is with sex toys sometimes easier to approach them as like, oh, it's just a novelty. I'm just getting penis pasta. I'm just getting penis
Yeah,
candy. And
yeah.
it seems so
It's a
silly and like,
dad
oh,
gift.
yeah, and like it's silly, but I think that it is kind of like the foot in the door for someone, literally the foot in the door of the sex
Yeah.
toy store. It was for me at least to be like, all right, this one's to be cheeky and this one's for real.
Love it. And then that was the start of your obsession with sex toys? No.
It kind of was. And like
That's cool.
it was a super like toxic jelly dong with no flared base. It was just like a classic bad first purchase
Hear you.
in the sense that I had no idea what I was getting quality wise. Um, yeah, that was definitely in like the West Village in one of those basement shops. I remember it well. I think it's closed now. But yes, there's just so much that is silly about it all. And like that's the thing. Oh, you know what? I had an important thought I wanted to dog ear and mention
Oh, yeah.
last night when I was thinking about this. I was thinking about specifically, this is something that comes to mind talking about consent and BDSM and communication, but that you can't assume that because somebody is like giggling or laughing,
Mhm.
that
Totally.
doesn't even always mean fun, funny, haha.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like an anxiety or people pleasing or like
Yeah.
even like it's an anxiety response.
Yeah, let's get into it because that's totally an assumption that many people make, that if there's any sort of smile on your face, that means everything's good and there's no need to check in because that's the indicator on your face is the smile and the laughter. But yeah, definitely have laughed myself in moments of awkwardness. And it does not mean that everything's all good. I definitely think
Yeah.
people should check in with each other, even if there's a bunch of laughter, and just be like, are we good? Are you good? You still want to keep going?
Yeah.
Those simple words, they don't really change the energy of the sexual fun that's happening, but it just, lets your partner know that you give a fuck and that you're still consciously paying attention to their body cues.
Yeah, and the flip side of that too is that like sometimes there are happy tears of joy during sex or like tears of ecstasy. um, um, but yeah, it really is like sometimes you just need a verbal or a pre-designated non-verbal way of communicating to check in about that. Um, but I think about that so much too, where I mean, like I will definitely laugh in a non-sexual setting when I am uncomfortable, almost as like a I've got this kind
Yeah.
of like
Yeah, like,
self-reassurance.
oh, yeah, like if there's definitely been a non-consensual finger to the butthole in doggy, and then you're like, ah! Wow. Yeah,
You really just did that.
that's not a haha, we're laughing together laugh. That's a oh shit, I almost shit on your finger and I wasn't prepared for that because now my butthole feels violated laugh.
Yeah, like oh yeah, it's so contextual. That's the thing too. I think yeah, unless you're personally familiar with the sensations of having something inserted, you got to put yourself in someone else's shoes and be like, all right, just because you like having something inserted doesn't mean you are ready at the drop of a hat unexpectedly to have something inserted when you're unaware that that's about what's to happen.
Yeah, always check in. I mean, like even with that, a simple like, is a finger okay? Do you want this? And checking in is so important. It can lead to the kind of laughter where you are connecting deeper with each other rather than being on two different pages and not understanding why they're laughing and crying at the same time. Like, just talk and communicate. I feel like that serious side of sex, that desire to be so serious, is where a lot of this non-communication comes from. Consensual boundaries get crossed because people are so focused on things being so perceived so perfect and not ruining the mood. So, part of not ruining the mood is not asking too many questions or fussing it up with too much conversation or not laughing and making a joke out of things. Like these super serious desires, I think, kind of can fog up the reality of people's levels of comfort and where they're at sexually, what they want, because you're too focused on this unspoken desire. Like, it's not a movie. This is real life. Talk with each other and have a good time together. Like, not just the one of you on another person.
I like how you brought up like movies earlier too. Like I think that, people talk so much about porn does this, porn does that to, I think general non-pornographic movies do so much script writing in our brain, if not for me more than actual porn. Because when I'm watching porn, I understand it's in the container of porn, and a film is, it's also, no one's watching a fictional narrative story and taking it at face value. And maybe that line slips a little bit more for the average viewer in porn, and that's where we got to like educate people around fantasy. But I think that's where I have developed most of my hangups and insecurities about sex, is the way it's depicted in a movie. Like, you're not instantly wet and ready to go, and it's just like, then the sheet is perfectly laying on your titties.
Like, no one is ever worried about like sweaty pits or BO in a movie. But in porn, you can see sweat dripping off people to where there's some essence of reality where you're like, okay, I'm a sweaty beast when I have sex. This person's a sweaty beast, and this is hot, so maybe I look hot. But yeah, I feel like a lot of my unhealthy expectations, my fantastical expectations maybe of sex, came from regular mainstream movies where, especially for us women, cis women, like, it's like supposed to be so full of fantasy and softness and perfection and fluidity. And or on the other hand, this is one of the sex scenes that I hate the most in a movie, is the one from the Gucci family movie with Lady Gaga and then they're in the trailer and like she like gets her head bashed against the wall, like they're having such rough, crazy sex like in this office. And I like, who the fuck on earth really has sex that hardcore for the first time they're having sex in a work environment, literally at work? It's just so over the top. And I feel like these are the things that kind of, okay, if we really want to get into TV and entertainment, like when I watch reality TV show dating, like some of the men have this fantasy mind. Like they're like, I'm not attracted to her because I don't want to rip her clothes off and run home to her and fuck her brains out. And I'm like, that's a movie, bro. That's not real life.
Yes. Are you talking about, do you watch Love Island by any chance? They constantly say, I just don't want to rip her clothes off. Yeah, and it's like I also don't want my clothes ripped off.
Right. Like, these cost money. I want to wear them again. It's cute. I'm cute in them. Do not.
This is a wrap shirt, actually. You don't have to rip it.
Then the mood will really be fucking killed, bro. Like, honestly.
Yes.
It's not the conversation that's gonna ruin the mood. It's you ripping my fucking outfit and thinking that's hot.
Oh no. And like one of my favorite like romantic movies when I was a teenager was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is an incredibly like emotionally abusive, toxic, like the whole plot of the movie is that they're a toxic couple to the point that they want to forget each other. And I knew that from, day one of watching the movie, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't kind of like gave young me this idea of like, ooh, ride the roller coaster, baby. You wanna be so stressed out that the good feels really good, and then the lows are so low.
Wrapped up in each other's bullshit.
Yeah. Same thing where it's like, nah, they're not showing you being like, I don't know, oops, there's a little bit of toilet paper. Let me like, there's not like no moment like,
Yeah,
or
I mean, and
or
if
it's
they
like the
are
complete butt of the joke.
right, I was just gonna say, if they are shown in movies, it's shown as like the most humiliating moment of
Yes.
someone's life,
Yeah.
and you will never recover from this. And it's because you got your, some cum in your hair and you went out in public, or I'm thinking about something about Mary. You got your dick stuck in a zipper. Like these are funny things I'm sure that has happened to people. Even the thing about like the dick getting broken, like if like a girl is riding or a person is riding a dick and like it gets, sits on it the wrong way and it gets bent, like that has actually happened to more men in real life than is discussed or talked about. But it's always like this humiliating thing. But there is recovery. That's the thing that we never really see in these kind of movies and shows, or hijinks that happen in sex. Like the laughter is there, but it's like left at just humiliation. So I feel like that carries out to a lot of people in society. Like, oh my God, if something embarrassing happens to me during sex, that is the most humiliating thing that could ever happen to me in my life.
Well, there's a question on that note of movie portrayal. What do you think the most funny? So it's a two-part question. What is the most funny sex scene in a movie, and what is the most realistic sex scene in a movie or TV show? Or just describe the gist of what it entails, maybe, if you can't think of anything specifically.
Honestly, I loved some of the sex scenes in Insecure, the TV show that Issa Rae did on HBO.
Yeah.
I just felt like they were hot, relatable, and they weren't over the top in this way that you're like, that's not how real people have real sex. I liked how some of the sex partners were like big-bodied men. You don't often see like big dudes having sex scenes, again, where they're not the butt of the joke. They're just like having sex. So I really appreciated those, and some of them were funny. I can't remember off the top because there was a sex scene almost in every other episode. But there was like funny ones. There was hot ones, definitely. But yeah, I think she did a good job of having those portrayals. What do you think?
I feel like I have to provide a lot of context for this answer so that people understand where I'm coming from. But I recently saw a movie called Dogs Don't Wear Pants, and have you heard about it?
No, I want to though. Sounds interesting.
It's like a Scandinavian like BDSM, like a single dad like meets this dominatrix, and then they like have this like and here's the thing, I actually really usually don't like watching movies that portray stuff like that, because I'm just going to be sitting there being like, ugh,
the eye roll. Yes.
Ugh.
The portrayal like, is so, it's like so vanilla meets so kinky. Ooh.
Yes. And a major criticism of this movie, I don't want to like spoil it for anybody, but a lot of people were like, there was no like consent depicted in this. They're just like, they just know what to do. You know what I mean? And I was like, in a really weird way, that is unfortunately realistic, in that you have people going straight into choking or straight into breath play specifically with absolutely no communication. So is it a terrible portrayal of how to like enter like a specifically like dominant and submissive sexual power exchange? Like, no, but I did find it to be, in as much as a movie can be, I was like, it's kind of realistic. You mean, she's not a very good dom for not laying down the rules and not considering his safety, and vice versa. But I was like, that is how people, they just jump in. You're having sex and then like a hand comes out because you've seen it in movies.
Yes. Oh my God. How many times has that happened in me with like casual sex moments where maybe people think because I'm a porn star, or because maybe they've seen in porns, they just think not every girl wants that. And it's very awkward, and it's unfortunate, like you said, that's a very realistic portrayal of how people actually are.
Yeah. So I don't think it's like a film is, I'm not also watching a movie to like find a role model necessarily. And I think it's like a interesting depiction of a problematic relationship in many ways. But I realized the other part of the question is funny. And based on again, this is proximity of like how recently I watched this stuff. I have a movie Discord where we just watch like bad movies, and we watched one of the Twilight movies recently, and I was laughing my ass off. Like, and like, I know that a sex eventually happens, but that to me was the funniest fucking shit of like, okay,
yeah,
like, this is the funniest fucking.
I didn't even get through 20 minutes of the first movie of the BDSM movie. What is that?
50 Shades. I couldn't get through.
No, when she went outside and the water hit her, I was like, I am done. I didn't get that.
I just knew about the cable balls.
Comedy. That was actually just comedy to me, because she was just doused with fresh rain because she was obviously so hot and worked up. Oh God, save her.
Yeah, unintentionally funny. Like, I don't know. I'm sure Twilight was not trying to be as cringy, campy as it ended up being, but yeah, it's like the inadvertently funny sex scenes versus the ones that are actually, they know what they're doing, or there's like a self-awareness to the fact that it is a funny sex scene.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, definitely do not get hypnotized by the movie story plots around sex out there, because people are laughing during sex. People are having silly times during sex. People are asking questions. People are taking breaks. People get cramps and have to take pauses. I mean, even when we're making porn, those things happen. You see the seamless edit at the end, but sometimes we're there all day because, there's issues with the camera, with the lighting, with the lawnmower outside making too much freaking noise. Oh my God. I remember literally when I was making Chemistry Eases the Pain, which is the pink and white film that I did the feature in, as the college student who's getting with her friend. We were filming this very quiet, and it was serious because it was like I was giving him a hand job, and we were very like young. We're playing young college students. It's our first interaction, so it's very like intimate, intense, and I'm giving us all quiet on the set. And also it's very intense to give someone a hand job and them actually get hard and actually ejaculate to completion. That's very intense pressure on both of us. So there was like this intensity and like quiet pin drop. And like literally as soon as he did it, there was like this big boom. We were like, ah! Like, what the fuck? Because like there's this skate park right next door, and these skaters are doing hijinks and mayhem outside. And it was literally right as he ejaculated. So it was like perfect cut. At least we got that. But like literally right after that was a boom, and everybody jumped in, like freaked out and screaming. It was the funniest shit ever.
Oh my God. A really loud kick flip.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like almost fell off the table because I was like, what was that? But it's so funny. So those seamless moments are cut out of porn, but definitely we have moments where we have to reset and regather ourselves. And I think it makes us a little bit closer instead of just having things be perfect. I mean, really, like whenever I've had those kind of silly moments, whether on set or in real sexual moments, it doesn't make us like each other less. It actually make us like each other more, and we're like closer because now we have this little funny bond moment. Like, I don't know. Like, remember like when I got a Charlie horse in the middle of that? Like, right as you're about to come and you didn't come, and it's like, yes.
Somebody's kink, we have the question also. Do you have any advice for people who find they're taking sex too seriously, which makes it hard for them to get into the mood? I think that what you just said is a perfect example. Like it reminds me of people who are shy to like dance in public. Oh yeah. Nobody's ever looking at somebody else being like, ha ha, they're such a bad dancer. No one's paying attention to you like that. You're the only one. Everyone's in their own head. Everyone's self-analyzing. And I think what you said also speaks to that in a sexual capacity, where it's like nobody's looking back on these things as a negative reflection of each other. It's a bonding moment, and or like maybe just you forget and move on. But Yeah. And if someone does make a big deal about something in a negative way, like I would see that as a red flag
Yeah,
personally.
honestly, let them remove themselves from your life, like that former fan of mine that couldn't take laughing during a threesome. I mean, there's three bodies interacting, but some laughter is going to happen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm kind of joking when I say this, but I also love kind of like I'm in a long-term relationship and I kind of like pranking is the wrong word, but
Oh,
sometimes I'll say like if I say something and I'm like, oh, like I'll make like a bad joke during sex and I'm like,
oh
oh,
no,
sorry.
please, please, because I feel like long-term relationships and keeping it spicy is a struggle for a lot of people. So yes, please tell us how you keep it fun, lighthearted, and spicy with the jokes. Like,
Yeah.
you're not taking it personally or
Yeah.
holding a grudge because someone said something and you felt it cut too deep or something. Like, how do you keep it lighthearted with your longtime partner?
Yeah, yeah.
Mid-sex jokes.
I think also it's like it is a certain mental state too. Like it's like you are under the influence of the chemicals your brain is releasing, and that does kind of like make you act in a different way, whether that be like I'm giggly or um like it's an altered state in that sense. So I think I like to kind of just like throw in little like callbacks to real life sometimes just to be like, gotcha. I can't think of a specific example, but it's like kind of like it's like winking at somebody in the middle of sex, be like, hey, we're fucking right now. Yeah, I think that's as like specific as I can think of an example. It's just like
I got you. Like, keeping it playful instead of like nagging about like you need to wash the sheets. It's like, might as well fuck on the sheets one more time. We're gonna wash them anyways. Like, make
yep.
something funny out of it instead of a nag moment. I don't know. Maybe that's just my way of how I would do it. I feel like sex should be playful and fun, and yeah, I just can't emphasize it enough. Like, for me with my partners, when we have a moment laughing together, I feel like that makes me know this person is for me. If we can't laugh together during sex and they're taking things too seriously, that's a bit of a red flag for me.
Yeah, that's not to say that everything has to be happy go lucky or
No, it's
whatever. Like,
not a long
yeah,
time.
yeah. I think like there's a reason play is also kind of like a synonym for sex as well. It's like you're kind of like in the sandbox of human bodies.
Yes,
Like you're
yes,
like, what's
imagination.
this do?
Bring it in. For example, some guys don't like when you play with their balls when it's or their dick when it's soft, but I don't think of it as an emasculation thing. I think of it just as how you said.
No.
It's like we're in the sand pit, we're playing. I'm back in discovery mode. I don't have one of these. Now I get to see like how it moves, how it interacts, the buoyancy. I'm fascinated and it's fun. It gives me pleasure.
Yeah,
Let's
I there's a good Midori quote that's like yeah, I forget whether it's like kink specifically, but it's like basically like youth joyous play with the additional adult privilege of
yes,
being an adult. Like
yes,
you're not the same thing, but it's that same like creativity and like make believe
yeah,
almost
curiosity.
specifically in fantasy. And we have a question specific to role playing, which is laughing during a role play scenario. How do you get back into the mindset?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I use the laughter as part of the role play. Like if they're laughing at me and I'm a dom and I'm laughing at myself, I just punish them more like, what's funny, you little worm? Don't you laugh at me? And I'm like
Yeah, that's
laughing as I'm
yeah,
saying it, but they're not allowed to laugh. So
totally.
I just throw it in with my role play. Like, even if I'm giggly and maybe I'm the submissive one, I'm just like, oh my god, like, so it's just too much, daddy, or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a
Whatever.
brattiness or
Yeah, and
something.
like
Like,
turn it
yeah,
into part of the role play, because if you can't stop laughing because it's uncontrollable, just make it part of the game.
totally. I think that's a great answer. I honestly don't have too much to add to that because I think I'm like I'm the kind of person who's just like gonna break into a smirk at any point in time. So I know exactly what you mean, where it's like this is actually totally planned, or like
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to look like I'm about to laugh at any moment. But yeah, my acting skills of containing laughter are not good. So I think incorporating it, it's like, yeah, it's just transform it into some usable material. I mean, I'm acting like, role playing is inherently performative, which it isn't if you don't have, but it's, yeah,
Yeah, a lot of
working it
people
into it.
have that performance-ness in them, like, and they kind of beat themselves up about it if something doesn't come out right. But trust, like, I've done a lot of improv growing up and different theater things. Like, messing up is just part of it. You just keep going. You don't say, oh shoot, dang, that doesn't sound right. That's not, like, you just,
Yeah.
whatever. Just, sorry, let's start over. Actually,
Right.
you sit on the chair and I'll be just you reset and take a breath, take a beat, jiggle a titty, squeeze a butt cheek, ground yourself and you'll be
Yeah.
back to normal.
Yeah, it sounds like you're getting at like the aspect of the momentum of it. Like if the momentum breaks, what gets you back into that momentum, or how can you meld it into the way things are going, like, yeah, how do you keep it a smooth ride? Totally. I love that.
I mean, you just have to go with the flow and again, check in with your person. Like, is this working for you? Is this like too goofy? Are we getting the role play that you want, or should we try role playing, reversing roles? Maybe try reverse. You might have more fun like that. Like, for instance, it's just like Halloween, like when guys dress up like girls and they have the most fun being like a crazy girl in a little dress with their hairy chest popping out. They're role playing and it's fun. And I had the most fun role playing as the Joker once. I'm not a man or the Joker, but it's like it brings out a sense in you. So sometimes reverse the roles and see if you have more fun that way.
Yeah, just I mean, and that's the thing too, especially like long-term relationships too. It's like we all crave something new and novel in order, like that's a huge part of arousal. So even if you're with the same person, it's like, what is some way I can bring a new element to this? And yeah, whether that's role playing or just like bringing a sense of levity, or you don't usually bring a sense of humor, but now you are. I think that's a really great way of keeping fresh, new energy in a relationship of any length, really.
Yeah. And I would say, especially if you're the types of individuals that are very concerned about being judged or something for being playful or trying something new, don't judge also, or if you're presented with some new idea or scenario, it's like, don't do the furrow brow, kind of do like lead with curiosity rather than
Yeah.
judgment. That's where I'm coming from. Judgment may
Love
be
that.
happening in the back of your mind regardless, because you can't help it. You're a human, you're making judgments, but lead with the idea of curiosity and playfulness rather than judgment. And I'm going to look stupid or you're going to sound stupid or something like that.
Totally. I know we only have a couple minutes left. We got one final question that's kind of piggybacking off of all that. I don't know if you, just kind of like a follow up on switching back and forth between Dom sub during a play session.
Wow, during a play session?
Yeah.
That is tricky because I don't know if I've done that specifically in a session, but like it's like once the session is started, we're like who we are.
Yeah, that's what a clarifying question maybe.
Yeah, maybe in the middle of it, if you're like feeling like you're trying these new roles and they're not working, maybe do check-ins with each other. Like, is this working? Is this not? Maybe if you were the one holding this and doing this on me, it might make me feel more comfortable, or things like that, where it doesn't have to necessarily be so heavy dom top bottom sub, but maybe like like I'm not getting the hang of this flogger thing. Do you want to try it? And maybe try it on me, and maybe that's something we can do and see if that like works. Those kinds of things where you just play with each other and just remember how it was at the playground, like Like, oh no, I want to push you on the swing. Now I want to be pushed on the swing. You know?
Yeah, communication. But yeah, you bring up a great point. It's like you can't just mind read and then like suddenly we've swapped. But yeah, I think say what you're thinking. I
Yeah,
think
say what you're
that's
thinking
great
and see what you
advice.
want to try, and you may be surprised if the other person is open to all that. So yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we're getting close to the end because my do not disturb
Yes.
just went.
Well, where can people find you and all that you do?
I am on what is it? Twitter at It's Lotus Lain. I was like, what are these apps? I can't even tell anymore because we're shadow banned. But on Twitter at It's Lotus Lain. On Instagram at IC.Lotus. So ICY.Lotus. You will have to show who you are to get approved because I had an Instagram deleted and now that's where we're at. And also OnlyFans, It's Lotus Lain, and everywhere else. That's perverse.
Hell yeah. I'm you can search my name, Zoe Ligon, ZoeLigon, or Thongria. I think I'm on every social media thing, including OnlyFans, as that. My very mediocre TikTok is just my name, though. Somebody took Thongria, so that's
How
just
dare they?
It's fine. I hope they're having fun with it. Yeah. Oh, and spectrumboutique.com is my shop. And I don't think I mentioned my book, Carnal Knowledge, Sex Education You Didn't Get in School. Currently out of stock, but should be restocking any day now.
I leave that book out in public for my teenager and their friends, and then I leave the house and I say, do what you will want with that book.
Are you serious? That
like when I go out, I'm like, here's this book, you guys can look at it and read it if you want. And I don't need to breathe down your neck and make sure you're doing it. I assume they would, but I don't want them digging through my stuff. I'm just like, here, read this.
That means a lot because that's kind of not how I intended for it to be.
It was like, I remember being a high school student and being very curious about sex stuff, and where you will look is not a good place when you're in high school. So I felt like I wanted to give them a good place to start from if they're going to start anywhere.
Yes. Porn can be educational, but it is not inherently educational.
No, and the thing about your book, sorry for going over time, but I love the fact that it is not just about porn and it's not just about sex. It's kind of about relationships and different kind of kinks or different interests and like literally about the spectrum, kind of like Full Spectrum Boutique, whatever.
That might be why I named that.
Kind of like, the spectrum of like sexuality and interests and how to think of those things as we come into this world. So yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. It's always such a pleasure talking with you, and we haven't gotten to like record something like this in years now. So it's really good to be virtually reunited with you after our January IRL reunion.
Yes, definitely. So yes, thank you everyone for joining us too, and for the questions. Very helpful, thoughtful questions. See you all later.
Yeah, thanks for all the wonderful questions, and everybody watching. Take care. Thanks, Field.
Bye. Yeah, thank you.